Hi, I'm Tom, and this is Adult Game Reviews. This week I jumped into Harem In Another World by Jong Games. This is the first RPGmaker game I've reviewed in a long time. I have a hard time with most RPGmaker games. Many of them just tend to be the same. Grindy turn-based combat, weak relationships, and while they can have good stories, many felt to me to not really respect your time.
Tick-tock. Tick-tock indeed.
So is Harem In Another World the same as the others? Let's find out. FYI, if you're watching this on YouTube, there are quite a few things I can't show. So if you want to see the full video, you can check out my Patreon or Subscribe Star for the $5 tier or above. Thanks all. You play the MC who unwittingly helps the goth girl cast a spell. This sends you and many of your others in your class to another world. Your job is to figure out who you are, survive, and find the others. Oh, and you may learn a few things on the way. So my biggest issue with a lot of RPGM games is that they all look the same. And this is still relatively true here. When you're wandering around the map, it's still the basic 2D pixel-like art. The characters look cute, but they're still pretty basic. When you finish quests or interact with many of the other characters, you're rewarded with an illustrated image. I will show what I can, but most of it can't go on YouTube. So all in all, the visuals were pretty standard, but I did really enjoy the illustrated art. The audio is very consistent with these types of games, which I would consider pretty average. Sound effects and music were pretty common throughout. It helped with the immersion, but like most RPGmaker games, it felt like I was playing something on the Super Nintendo or Switch.
Who wants pizza rolls?
This wasn't a bad thing, just something to notice. So the story and mechanics are pretty tied together. It took me about 18 hours to beat the game, but I tend to also be slow with these types of games, so it may take you a lot less. Also, there is a free patch that you can actually download that I would suggest you take a look at if you're interested in playing this game. Okay, let's get into the bad. During those 18 hours, there was the occasional glitch or bug. There are a lot of different minigames or mechanics. I saw a review on Steam that said the dev deserved to be downvoted for the fishing minigame alone. It's funny because I spent about 30 minutes grinding the fishing and I had enough money for the rest of the game, so I didn't really have a problem there.
Well, la-dee-da.
However, there was a stealth quest where I got trapped in the corner and every time I respawned, the enemy was right there killing me again. The game eventually asked if I wanted to skip that area and I had to say yes because I couldn't actually spawn and try again. That was pretty annoying.
Disappointed!
There were other times where the dialogue would freeze on the screen and I would have to talk to somebody else or reload it just to clear up the image. However, as far as the UI goes, this was the only issue I had. There was a fishing minigame, quick-time boss fights, puzzles, and pick the right dialogue style minigames, to name a few. I didn't have an issue with any of them, and the combat for the most part was right up my alley. However, I know some of you guys hate minigames, so I figured I would say something about it. Let's get into the good. The story and the other characters were a huge draw for me. I'm a sucker for building up bases. I love it in Fallout and I loved it here too. You unlock different upgrades by completing quests and having the right resources.
Yeah, this place has everything!
You get resources by collecting wood, iron, stone on the map. Every once in a while I missed a resource and had to scour the map. However, I was never stuck for very long because you can pay 10 gold to the fortune teller for a tip at how to find certain resources or how to finish certain quests. I didn't need to use it very often, but it was nice to have. Another good thing is that I was surprised by the amount of scenes with each of the other characters. Even the side characters had some decent content. One of the main good things for me is that there's no stats that you have to worry about. You get money to get better gear. This will increase your combat ability. Just make sure that you have a good stash of potions on you and you auto kill most enemies. Combat felt fast and it kept me from getting frustrated. If you love the turn-based combat in RPGM games, then you may be disappointed here because this is mostly auto attack outside of a few boss battles. One thing I was not expecting is this game is pretty funny. There were more than a few times where the MC breaks the fourth wall, which cracked me up, but the MC is just kind of a lovable idiot. His heart is in the right place, and eventually you start to win people over. It was hard to not like the MC, but maybe that's just me. One thing to be aware of is you may get people that find the character interactions are kind of disjointed. You will have a fun scene with someone and then you have to spend 1 hour doing a quest for them before you get another scene. But like I said, most of the time these scenes felt satisfying because it felt like you really had to work for them. I felt like that was important to mention because I know someone's going to get upset about that. Okay, so one last thing that I know someone's going to ask me about is yes, there is a gallery, but you have to get it in-game, which doesn't happen immediately. I'll be honest with you and say this is the first RPGM game that I played in a while that I personally loved outside of the Genesis order. There's so much to like here, from the writing, the humor, the relationships. I didn't even mind the mini games. So for me, this is a big play. I found myself wanting to 100% this game and it's been a long time since I ever felt that way. I'm sitting on like 2 achievements left, so I'm definitely going to be jumping back in to finish that up. I want to thank all my backers on Patreon and Subscribe Star, and if you haven't seen my 2025 awards, you can check them out right here. Thanks again. Until next time.